But my beats, they are hard.
Here with the Black College Sports Network, and as we continue to have conversations with HBCU and football players who are getting ready for the NFL draft and the CFL draft, it's a pleasure to have an opportunity to talk with Bethune-Cookman quarterback Akevious Williams from Bethune-Cookman joining us right now. Akevious, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing excellent right now. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. First off, I hope you and your family are okay and well, and you know, your friends and your teammates and things like that. I hope everybody's doing well with the quarantine and the coronavirus pandemic that we're going through right now. Are you?
Yes, sir. Everybody's doing pretty good, staying home.
Okay, good. I'm assuming are you back home in Madison, Florida?
Yes, I've been back home for about a month now.
Okay. Now, are you scheduled to? Now, you're scheduled to graduate with your degree this upcoming spring, correct?
No, so I graduated spring of 19. It was it was actually supposed to be my master's that was coming up.
Okay. What was your undergrad in?
Health and exercise science.
Okay, and so your master's is you're pursuing your master's in what?
That was organizational leadership.
Okay, interesting subject there, especially being a quarterback. I can think of no better field for a quarterback to major in than organizational leadership. Seems like a natural fit for you.
So it was a perfect fit. Learning new things. A great leader.
What's something that you've learned so far? I know you haven't been but maybe a semester or so into courses, but what's something that you've learned in your courses that either maybe helped you this past year, or maybe something that you wish you would have known in your previous seasons?
Something that the classes I was taking that I always preached was always stay consistent work. Just staying consistent with your work, and most everybody always know that. But just staying consistent with your work, that's the main thing that the class was preaching.
So let's go back a little bit before you got to Bethune-Cookman. Tell me a little bit about your time at Madison County High School. You were rated as a 3-star dual threat, is what they called you for your running and not only your passing. What was your high school experiences like as a quarterback, and how did it prepare you for your college years?
Just starting off, Madison is a very small school, probably about 400 or 500 students in the school. That's really why we moved down to 1A this year. But just going to school as a quarterback, it was always just giving thanks to Coach Cole, Michael Cole, my head coach, and Coach Jim Ershberger, which was my OC and quarterback coach at the time. They prepared us. We started watching film at an early, started breaking down film, learning how to read the tendencies of what was going on, and they just showed us how to keep working and how to grind and how to put in the college grind, not in just always going and quitting on the rep, and just finding that extra mentality, just finding it in your mind to know that I'm not saying that I can't do it or anything. So they just molded us into men and showed us the route of how to live and how to do things on our own, which that we was getting at the homes. And so It was a great time there, and just football experience on Boot Hill at Friday Night Lights was great.
How many years were you on varsity, or how many years were you a starter as the quarterback?
I was a starter 2 years as the quarterback, but my sophomore year I actually started at receiver because we had a senior that was starting at quarterback that had already took us to two state titles, but we didn't win. We was runner-ups. But we had the senior quarterback, DJ McKnight, so I was backing him up my 10th grade year. But I was on varsity 4 years, and I started my 10th grade year at receiver, and then started 11th and 12th grade year at quarterback.
All right, and so as you are into your junior and senior year, and as colleges start to pay attention to you and they see the potential, what schools? Let me ask this. Did you have to deal with schools that were looking at you at positions other than quarterback?
Oh, yes, sir, all the time. All the time. Most schools consider me as an athlete because of the speed and, like you say, the potential to play other positions. And like Florida State wanted me to come in and play safety. Other schools wanted me to play DB. Georgia Tech wanted me to play receiver. So it was multiple schools coming in wanting me to change position, but I just felt like I had built that home at quarterback, and that was the position I wanted to stick with.
And it is that what drew you to Bethune-Cookman, or were there any other schools that were looking at you solely as a quarterback?
Really just Cookman. Most schools really wanted to try me out at other positions. It was just like quarterback as a backup plan. But just going down there at Cookman on my visit, it was actually my first visit. So just going down there, me, my mom, and my father, all this, we went down there, and they enjoyed the time, and I enjoyed my time, and just the love from the HBCU, just being down there, and it was just a great time. They showed me how a family of football team be, so it felt like I was leaving Madison, coming back into Madison, just in a college atmosphere.
And what was it that the coaches emphasized to you about giving you the opportunity to be a quarterback? What was it they saw in you, and they didn't try to change you into another position? What did they tell you, or what do you recall from those? I know it was a long time ago, but what do you recall from those conversations that really stuck with you?
Well, it was Coach Jim Pryor who recruited me down there, the OC at the time, quarterback coach, and he always preached that I had the poise and just the charisma of other guys, just bringing in other guys, because he just come in and visit me at the gym, and we used to always be hanging out. He used to just be like, it's the charisma around you. Like, I see the leadership in you, that I can watch the film and see that you lead the other guys, and know that you're out there coaching them up as you've been a general on the field. So he just always preached, just stand up and just always be vocal. And he said he always seen that vocal leadership in me. So,
did you mentioned your parents went with you on a recruiting trip? Were there any other HBCU or Bethune-Cookman grads in your family?
Well, one of my aunts, she just maybe like 4 or 5 years ago just graduated from FAMU. But on my dad's side, I got a couple aunts that went to FAMU. So that's Rottler Nation over there, and it's Wildcat Nation in my house.
All right. We know very well about those houses that are divided all throughout the state of Florida. So I know why your aunts. I know they love to hate you a little bit during the Florida Classic weekend. I'm sure, especially what you've been doing the last few years to them.
Yes, sir, all the
time. So you end up at Bethune-Cookman, and right, when you're coming in, that's at the time right where Bethune is. The past decade, Bethune has actually been one of the winningest programs in the past decade, and a large number of those years were the years prior to you coming in. Was that something that you looked at and you felt any maybe extra pressure, or you just kind of like, this is where I need to be, this is where I want to be because of the success that they've shown in the years up to you entering campus?
Yes, sir. That was another thing to it. Once I did my research and looked up on the school and seen that they had a program of winning and knew how to win, and how to build athletes. That helped boost my my decision on committing to also.
All right. And you got you not only redshirted your first year, but then your redshirt freshman year, you played 10 games, started 3. You had some activity in your sophomore year. So you're getting playing time early in your career, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It was due to a couple of injuries my freshman year.
Yeah, and how'd you feel prepared in terms of the preparation? Obviously, the coaching staff, mentioned your preparedness. You mentioned your years in high school, how they got you prepared. When you step on the field as a redshirt freshman, what do you recall about those moments or those emotions?
Just the speed of the game when they first got out, just the speed of the game. Learning how to slow the game down, because when I first got out of redshirt freshman, first snap, it was just like a blur. It was just like a blur, and I just had to settle in and go back to my teach tape of how I study film and the defenses that we went, and just because Coach Jim Pride, he was good at showing us the tendencies throughout the week and showing us great schemes and everything throughout the week. So I was prepared. I was well prepared, but just going out there and just getting in the actual gameplay and playing in actual college game speed was different. So that was the biggest thing to me, just slowing the game down at first.
And is there a moment in either that first year while you're playing that when did it slow down for you? When was the moment in that first year where it all kind of slowed down and you're like, okay, I'm gonna be all right?
I'll say maybe about the third game when we played against Central. We took a pretty good beating, but things started to slow down. I started to see more of the defense and read more of the coverages and knew when they was blitzing and everything. So things started to slow down, and I started being more vocal and getting back into the high school groove of bringing that guy back into the game or play, because the speed started to slow down. I started getting the gist and the feel for it.
Yeah, you had some big games, especially going into your sophomore year. You guys went 7-4, 6-2 in the conference that year. Now, in that sophomore season, is that when Alan Schubert became your offensive coordinator and quarterback coach? Was that your sophomore, or was that your junior year?
Sophomore year.
And of course, many of us, who watched him when he played at Bethune-Cookman, remember how dynamic a player he was. Talk a little bit about, when you're hearing that basically a Bethune legend, so to speak, is coming in as a coach. What was that like when you found that Alan Schubert was actually coming to be your coach?
Well, when I first found out, I found out from Larry Brum, the previous quarterback right before me. I found out from him because he knew Coach Alan Schubert, and I didn't know Coach Schubert. So he was putting me on desk, and he was like, go do some research on him. So I was like, okay, I'll go do some research. And I went to go doing the research, and I seen everything about Super and everything. I was like, okay, maybe my coach was the real deal. So once he came down, finally met him and everything. Met him, he's cool, you feel me? We started talking, and he started telling me about everything that's going on, and it started giving me chills because it's something to work for. Now I got a legend, as you asked to speak, a legend at Cookman coaching me, so now I got something to look for to beat. So it was an honor. It was an honor playing up under him, and just knowing that each day, each practice, I'm going out competing against him, just competing against his shadow. So it was a great time.
And it seemed like in your junior year, where you had probably maybe one of your best seasons, or maybe in terms of just statistics, you had a 62, almost a 63% completion percentage rate, which actually you were leading the MEAC in passing efficiency, one of the best in the country. It seemed like everything's taken off there in your junior year, and you're growing more comfortable in the system. What was one or two things that you recall in that junior season that really made the difference for you personally as a quarterback under Coach Schubert's system or just under his tutelage?
Just trust. There's one big thing was trust, just trusting in what he's calling game plan and just always been on key with him. So, and then just getting in the film work with him and just learning how he think in certain situations, what would he call, and just being a step ahead of, okay, I know Coach Schubert called this, so just when he's calling everything, just always on the same page as him. So just trusting his game plan and just staying in the film room with him, because we did ridiculous amount of counter hours in the film room. So those are the two main things, just getting me to actually slowing the game down and getting into his system and running it the way that he wanted it to be run.
You mentioned that film work. Talk a little bit about that. I mean, that to an outsider or to someone who maybe evaluates quarterback success, I mean, outside of just the talent, is that the thing that separates a lot of guys? I mean, talk a little bit about the time that you guys spent in the film room.
Okay, so just starting off with a typical day, I would come in there about 1 o'clock, take a break at about 2:30. So we'll go from about 1 to 2:30 with just me and Coach Schubert. And then maybe from 3 to 4 o'clock, it'll be me and the other guys. So it'll just from that 1 to 2:30 period, it'll just be me and him. So we'll be breaking down the film together, breaking down each game together, just learning how to read the game as he's reading it. And also, like I said, just getting on the same tip as him. So that film was a major role. It helped, like I said, it helped you slow the game down because you already know what defenses are. There are certain tendencies. Every defense has a certain tendency. So it just helped me slow the game down, and it helped, like I said, it helped me believe in what he's calling and trusting his game plan. Just knowing in this certain situation that I know I got this play and I know he's going to call this play.
And are you guys watching film of your games, your practices? Are you spending time watching old games, old film, different games, different quarterbacks? What's the variety like, or is it more structured within, just your own team and your own personnel?
During the season, we break down practices, other teams' film, our games film, our previous games against them, other quarterbacks against them, and during the spring it's broad. So we'd be learning from other quarterbacks, college quarterbacks, NFL quarterbacks. We just learn, and then, like I say, throughout the season, it's just simple.
Do you obviously Coach Schubert spent some time in the NFL and the Canadian football leagues. By the time you're getting into your senior year and you're this is it, my last year of eligibility, I'm thinking about pro football in the future. Does he begin to start talking to you about, or maybe showing you concepts on the next level at any point, maybe in your senior year?
Yes, sir. We started talking more and more about West Coast terminology, as in talking NFL football. So he did a great deal of that. We worked on that a great deal towards going into my senior year. Over the summer, that was a big thing of what we was working on. That was a big objective of what we had to complete.
And so you feel like one of the things, I guess, as you sort of talked with scouts, what are maybe some of the conversations that you've had with scouts? What are some of the things that they're telling you about what they've seen from you, from your game film?
Just building, just staying consistent with my feet work, and just always, just like I say, most scouts is just saying, just stay consistent with my feet work throughout the whole game. So that's one big thing.
How does the obviously with being a quarterback who's had success running, you ran for as many touchdowns as you threw this past season, 10 and 10. And you have that ability to run and throw. Is that something that are you starting to find yourself maybe similar to your high school years going into college? Do you have people talking to you about playing other positions, or what's a little bit of that going on? What's that like right now?
Yes, sir. Just like you said, it's still just like high school. Still got guys scouts that's thinking them an athlete and still want to try me out at a different position as in DB receiver because of the speed. So right now I'm just open. I'm open to learn position and training for everything.
So you are open to other positions, or are you strictly wanting to stay as quarterback?
I'm open to new positions, but right now I'm building myself as a quarterback. So taking that shot as a quarterback right now.
So I got to ask you, in your time with Bethune, you guys had some great victories, some great road trips, and you went to some tough places to play, especially, you know, Miami, Nebraska, FAU, places like that. What was one of the toughest road games that you had to deal with outside of the conference games? What was one of the toughest environments you had to play in?
I'll say Mississippi Valley State, because of just the humidity out there and just how it was out there. It was just like, I don't know, it's different because the weather out there is different. And that probably was the hardest time, one of the hardest games that we really played in, that we really should have been a blowout. So I'll say Mississippi Valley State because of the weather, the humidity and everything. It was kind of off.
Now, which year was this? Because you guys beat them twice. So, I mean, which year was this where you felt like it was really tough?
I mean, it wasn't tough as in playing that in the game, but it was like tough as in like going out, warming up, and just you got to build yourself into playing into the game because of the humidity and just the different weather and the thick grass. We was playing on real thick grass, and we usually playing on turf, so
trying to slow you
it was
Florida
just a change
boys down.
up of the game styles. Yes, sir.
So this past season was a bit of a kind of a roller coaster season for you guys. You guys you had a great start. The middle was kind of rough, but you finished off in great spectacular fashion. When you look back on and actually you guys set up for a great race. I mean, obviously the teams in the MEAC were, in my opinion, the best, 3 to 4 teams among the top 5 in HBCU this year. What's one or two takeaways? Maybe if there was a play or two that you could have back from some of those tough losses that you would love to have back.
I would say first game that I love to have back is the homecoming game. It's one of the biggest games of the season due to that. So first game I would like to have back is homecoming, just going out, just having that one more touchdown on the board to tie the game up, maybe take it to overtime. If not, we win. And just going up to Delaware, and I'm guessing just taking the team with a different mentality up there and not just expecting us to go over and roll over Delaware. So just those 2 losses back-to-back, the homecoming loss and then the Delaware loss, just those 2 losses back-to-back out. Wish we can go in and just take those back.
I was always curious about this, was the loss on homecoming, did it affect maybe the mentality going into that Delaware State game?
I'm pretty sure it did. Well, not in my eyes. It was a loss that we had to bounce back from and get back on our feet and get back going. But I'm pretty sure, like, as in the team, you felt that the juice was there. You felt that the juice was there. We were squeezing out because of everybody just on the high roller of oh, okay, we winning, we going through the season, we rolling, we cruising, and we going. And now we take an L. Now it's time to reboost. Just most of us didn't reboost, so we was going into the game as in, are we still playing last game this week? Right. So I kind of think that game played a toll on finishing out the season.
So it was more so the previous week than it was necessarily looking ahead to the week ahead, which was A&T, which was after Delaware State.
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's interesting because it's always interesting to kind of hear after everything's done. While you're in it, you know, folks like us in the media and fans, I mean, we speculate all day, and probably half the time we don't know what we're talking about. And you guys who are in it, you know, you guys know what's going on. So it's always interesting to hear after the fact what's going on. Let's talk a little bit about the Florida Classic and just now let me see. You are part of. I've lost count on how many classes have gone unbeaten versus FAMU now. Talk a little bit about the emotion and buildup. And I'll say this. I'll be full transparency. Okay, I'm a FAMU alum, and this is what we hear. We hear that the Bethune game means a little bit more to you guys than maybe it does to our guys. Now, you know, that's all speculative. That's fan talk, right? But talk a little bit about what the preparation is like. What's the mode? What's the energy like going into Florida Classic week?
Well, on the football tip, on the football team, it's the same preparation that's going into the next game, as going into a different game. But as an outsider, been around campus and speaking to the alumni, it's a different kind of juice they bring in. Everybody got a question. Everybody is questioning you about this and that. How was practice today? How's so and so doing? And who is going to play? So it's different because you got a lot of questions coming from alumni that you maybe not spoke to, and forever alumni that you maybe not never seen. So. And it's hot because, like, the FAMU game is, you can lose every other game in the season, but you win the Classic. That's just like winning the Super Bowl. So it's a lot of pressure down there once it comes to that Classic week because nobody wants to lose to the team up. That's orange and green. That's the Rattlers. So,
right. I'm sure at this point, nobody wants to be the class that actually gives up the win and ends the streak. I'm sure that's also in the mindset, right?
Oh, yes, sir. That's every year. Every year.
That is horrible. You guys, these streaks, man, I tell you, unbelievable. But congratulations to you guys. I mean, you guys have a nice run going. And they've been great games just from a football perspective. They've been fun, exciting games. Nerve-wracking as heck. I'll stress that, but I'm sure, you know, for you guys, the enjoyment is really sweet when it's all done. So I got a question for you. Now, the same way that you went 4-0 against FAMU, unfortunately, you went 0-4 against A&T, North Carolina A&T. If you had an opportunity to trade one of those wins against FAMU for a win against North Carolina A&T, would you take it?
No. No. I'll stay undefeated against FAMU. I'll stay undefeated.
My man, great answer. Great answer. I got you on that one. Who, in terms of teams that you win against, when you think about defenses that you win against, whether it be in the MEAC, let's kind of stick to the MEAC if you can. Which defensive group was probably the toughest defense to go against? Maybe it's because of the way they schemed you guys or played against you, or maybe it was their secondary or their defensive line. Who was the toughest defensive group that you had to go against and prepare for it?
Well, of course, A&T is a powerhouse, but, like, I would say South Carolina State because every year they brought the guys to play, and their defense is always always a great defense. They always have a great defense. So I'd say South Carolina State because they had great schemes and they always has the guys who's going to play hard all 4 quarters. So.
Right, and I read an interview somewhere that said one of the toughest guys that you went against was Darius Leonard, who now, of course, you know, is a rising star in the NFL. What was it like having to go up against him those years he was there?
Just knowing that you got to know where 10 is all 4 quarters, because he's going to play every down the same as he did the first. So it was great playing against him, but just always knowing that you got to know where 10 is around the ball, because he's going to be around the ball regardless. If he's not making the tackle, he's going to be there around the ball. So just knowing he had all 4 quarters.
Who was the toughest, or I guess I should ask, what was the toughest road game you had to play in, MEAC-wise, amongst your conference teams? Toughest MEAC conference game.
Oh, well, that's FAMU. That's the classic. My senior year was one of the best ones. It was the toughest one.
Does that count as that's not really a true road game. That's like 50-50. I mean, you guys had just as many fans as FAMU guys there. Come on. That's not a true road game.
Okay.
Give me the second one. Give me the second.
I would say Howard.
Really?
When we went up and played in Indy. Yes,
okay.
When we went up and played in Indy, even though we lost, but that was a good, tough game. And we had to play the whole game. Like each part of the team stepped up, special teams, defense, and offense. So it was a great game, but we just had to finish it out. So it was a great, tough one.
No, I remember that game. That was 2018 Circle City Classic. That was an outstanding game where I think you guys probably had it was just a back and forth. I think it was the second quarter where it was like a back and forth. Like they scored, you scored, they scored, you scored. It just kind of kept going like that.
That's right. That's a great one.
Yeah, it was a good game. What if you had to think about a game plan through the last 4 years, what was probably one of the best game plans, either by Coach Sims or maybe Coach Schubert, one of the best game plans that you were a part of, regardless of whether you won or lost? But as you think back on it, what was one of the best game plans?
My senior year classic, because everything he called was just on point. Coach Sue, everything he called was just on point. So my senior year classic was one of the best game plans that we had going into a game that we had ever built together, and just one that we ever felt like this was going to be the one.
Take us a little bit behind the curtain in that game. Maybe give us what was one or two things that worked well, or maybe one or two things that you tried and you were like, well, we don't know if, we'll see how this one works out, and if it works, then we know we got something.
One thing that really worked well was just working the backside safety, because as we watch the film, they like to screw down their backside safety late into the box and make the tackle. So just that was one thing that we really worked well on, and we built off that weekend that really worked well in the game, because we hit it for like maybe I think an 80-yard pass one time. And a couple things that we tried was like reading the outside linebacker, those overhangs that he had. So a couple things that we tried that didn't work was a couple things like that. But just a positive thing was reading the backside safety. That was one of our big things that we really took into it.
Okay.
And taking our one-on-one backside matchup.
Yeah, you had I believe you were that was the game you were the one of the MVPs of that game, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, you had an outstanding game. When you finish your career with that kind of game, how satisfying is it?
Oh, it's greatly satisfying, especially when you finish out with a bang on, continue the streak of them going 9-0 against the Rattlers. So it was a great feeling, and just knowing that the season, my career, everything went out with a bang against FAMU, and that it's all over. It was emotional at one point, but it was all over.
Yeah. So over the last, as the season ends and you start to go into this mode of getting ready for the draft, the early part of the year, I'm sure you're able to maybe do workouts and you're able to kind of get out and do things. And then all of a sudden we have this coronavirus pandemic affect our lives. Talk a little bit about how your training and your preparation changed from what you were able to do before and what you've been able to do over the last month.
Just as in training wise, because I was training down in Deltona with a guy named Les Hewitt with Speedline Training. But now I'm back in Madison. So just in the point of having the corona, we're not able to go to the gyms to get in full body workouts. So it's just like scratch workouts that we're doing with dumbbells and just single plate workouts that we're doing at home. So it's just like home training, and you're not able to go into the actual facilities because you never know who has the coronavirus. So you're just being cautious everywhere you go. And it's just a thing that everything is not open up. So you're really just basing everything off of what you already know and just continue trying to gain and maintain what you already have. So
are you able to still continue throwing, or have you had to sort of create different passing patterns and trees with obstacles? I mean, what are you doing to sort of stay sharp with your passing and your skill sets?
Right now, I'm taking out a couple of my receivers from my old high school, taking a couple of those receivers out and going down throwing balls with them, and also helping build up with my little cousin. He's actually going to be the high school quarterback, so just actually helping him build up as I'm building up also. And we're going out there and we're throwing every day with those guys.
So what's maybe one or two things, what's a little bit of knowledge that you're sharing with your cousin who's about to, hopefully when we get back to a little bit of normalcy in our lives and hopefully there's football in the fall, what's some knowledge that you're imparting upon him that's been shared with you?
There's two major things: film work and consistency. You got to stay consistent with your work, and you got to stay in the film work. Because if you stay in the film room, it'll be a lot easier than just playing off the talent. And if you stay consistent, a lot of things will come positive to you.
Sounds good. Good advice. Are you able to stay watching film? And if so, what are you watching now? What kind of things are you watching to kind of keep yourself mentally sharp?
I'm just going there and watching old game films from when we was playing in college, or when I was playing in college, and just watching the NFL games that was previously played from last year, the years before, and just breaking down things like just going and watching Drew Brees and the Tom Brady's that when they was doing YouTube videos about how they was breaking down film, so I can also learn a little bit more about how to talk West Coast and NFL football terminology.
Is there a quarterback it's in the league right now that you watch from a technical standpoint? And I'm not talking about like, we may watch and we go ooh and ah at the great plays, but from a technical standpoint of being good at his craft, who do you look at and try to learn from?
Well, I'm a major Aaron Rodgers fan because of how he has all those throwing angles and he can make plays on this everything. But just to be up front, I'm a major Deshaun Watson fan because of he always putting in the work, and like you say, he don't have the best line all the time, but he's always constantly leading those guys and getting them to where they need to be. So just looking at Deshaun Watson and watching how he's building up himself and how he's becoming the starter he is. I always watched him since he was at Gainesville High School in Georgia. So just watching Deshaun Watson and how he built up his craft.
Okay. All right. That's what's up. Yeah. Definitely two guys that I can look at those two guys and I can see some comparisons between their mobility and athleticism, and I could see, you kind of operating in a similar mode. Definitely.
Yes, sir.
So as this time approaches and the draft approaches, one of the things that, in talking with your agent, I know he's very connected in with the CFL and other leagues. Are you excited about the possibility of not just, obviously I know the NFL is your dream, but there's football all over the world. Is the possibility of playing just wherever, whenever, is that exciting to you? Is that sort of one of those things that's on your mind constantly?
Oh, yes, sir. It's always going to be exciting because you never know the next thing that's going to happen. So just always having the butterflies, being nervous about where I'm going to be or if I'm going to be somewhere. So just not knowing what's next and just putting in all the work. It's just like going through the summer workouts. You put in all the work just to get to that first game of the season. So that's how I feel right now. I'm putting in all the work just to get to the first day.
Yeah. Well, Akevious, I appreciate you taking time out to talk with us. You had a great career at Bethune-Cookman. I think your name is safe, and it'll go up there on the mantle as one of the all-time greats at Bethune. You finished with an unbeaten record against Florida A&M. So I know that'll be something that you'll always have bragging rights on for the rest of your life, especially with your aunts. You know, you can always say, hey, you know, I beat your Rattlers 5 times, 4 times, however you want to throw it out there. You know, I hope that once you get into somebody's league, that we're able to kind of keep up with you and follow your path and your journey. And I wish you good health and much success down the road.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. It was an honor being on.
All right. Thank you. You take care of yourself. Be safe out there, and we're rooting for you. All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Same to you.
But you stay hard.